Okay, so we've got Brian Skillen, and Brian's actually a neighbour of mine from the same village. So this is an interesting interview we're going to have this morning. Brian, if I could get you to tell me a little bit about yourself, which force you were with, and perhaps an early indication of any hurdles or difficulties that you had then when leaving the police.
Yeah, okay, Rob. I used to work for the Ministry of Defence Police. I was there for 26 years. I served at various stations and worked with a lot of people during my time there. I left in 2016, August 2016, and that was due to me having a back injury, which I had to subsequently medically retire from. Yeah, so August 2016 was when I left the force.
Okay, and in terms of leaving then, Brian, what was the experience like when you left? Obviously, on the medical grounds, from what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, when obviously it was a shock to me. It wasn't something that you plan as you do with normal retirement. So
Yeah.
medical retirements are obviously kind of forced upon you. So initially, yeah, there was a little bit of fear with the fact that I was going into unknown territory that I hadn't planned for. So yeah, I mean, it was. Yeah, it was a bit of an upset to start off with. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And the experience then, in terms of engagement with the organisation, and what kind of experience did you have in terms of engagement with the organisation for preparation for leave and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Okay. Well, they set me up with a sort of company called Right Management, and basically they do sort of seminars to help with people who have left throughout the MOD. That can be to help set up their CVs for looking for other jobs. It can also help them establish where their strong points are in whatever business or organisation they were with within the MOD. For example, I had done, I'm trying to remember the name of the test. It was the Myers-Briggs test, which helped me to establish where I wanted to be with this new sort of progression into a different career. Where I was. Sorry.
MBTI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to one of the seminars. It was interesting. We done some group sort of discussions, which was quite informative. And yeah, I sort of enjoyed it, but it wasn't really relevant to me because my business experience was not something that was easily transferable to the outdoor market or security or that kind of sort of train of thought where everybody else in the room seems to have a lot of different skills where they could expand on different aspects where I was quite limited.
Okay, I might come back to that point, Brian, about skills and transference and that, because that's one of the key reasons for doing the interviews and gleaning some information from colleagues as well. So you obviously, the fact that you're going medical, you had a bit of an idea that you were perhaps leaving the organisation.
Yeah.
So how did you feel in terms of what's coming next?
Well, as I say, it's a fear. Yeah, it's definitely a fear, and then you come to terms with it, and from there onwards, you start building around what you see, where you see yourself. It was quite unusual because what I'd done was I'd joined a course. I thought I'd have a year's sabbatical, just enjoy myself for a year, and then after that year, I'd sort of find out what I wanted to do. But I went and done this course, and whilst I was on this course, there was another person who'd worked for the government, and he'd worked there for a long time too. And he said to me, he says, "Have you had it yet?" And I said, "What do you mean? Have I had it?" He said, "Well, you've been in, your job a long time, like me." He said, "Have you felt it yet?" "No, what are you talking about?" And he said, "Feeling down, that feeling of not being wanted or not needed." And I said, "You know what? Yeah, I have. It's not something I was aware of, but it definitely was something that was going on around me.
Right.
It was that unknown, because I'd been into such a routine, subconsciously and consciously. The subconscious part started feeling, well, was I wanted, was I needed,
Yeah.
kind of thing, and it does play down a little bit to start off with. It's what you do about it afterwards.
Yeah.
You can make yourself more useful to society.
Okay. Yeah. So in terms of the plan then, Brian, at what stage did you start kind of planning, and what did that planning process look like for what's coming next?
Okay, well, as I say, when I got notification of me being medically retired, that's when you start thinking, well, what am I going to do next? And my best friend, my wife, is who I was speaking to about it. And of course, she didn't want me working shifts again, which was, comes part and parcel with the police force, and then possibly going from there onwards to another sort of career around exactly roughly what I was doing. So therefore, shift work was out of it for me, and so therefore I had to look at a whole new different aspect of where I was going to be and what I wanted to do personally for myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, after a few weeks of discussions, my wife gave me the sort of free rein to go and do what I wanted to do. But it does take a couple of months, because you do, particularly at my age, I'm 50, and at my age, I have to make sure that this next career choice is correct.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend 3 or 4 years going down the line and then realising that it's not for me, because time is not exactly on. I never thought I'd hear myself say that, but time is not as on my side as I thought it was these days. So a career choice is very important for me now, and it's something that you do need to think about. So I would say 3 or 4 months of definitely sitting down with myself and my wife and discussing what we wanted and definitely what I wanted.
Okay, that's good. So in terms of what are you going to be doing now then? I know you and I had a discussion a few weeks ago about you were doing some studies and stuff. So what is it that you're actually planning to do now?
Well, I'm actually hoping to get myself a career in counselling, because that offers me flexibility and the hours that I work, that I can decide. So I've got full control over that. As I say, I'd done the Myers-Briggs, and it was, I think the first one that came up for me was to be a teacher or a lecturer.
Right.
The second one was counselling, and counselling librarian, and I think there was some other one there. But the third one was obviously emergency services, which I already done.
Right.
So for me, the counselling was something that I thought would be a good career opportunity that wouldn't be too diverse from what I'd already done.
Yeah.
Although obviously with what I'm doing now, I realise it's a lot more than what I thought, but it's very, very interesting,
So what's the journey looking like, Brian? Again, I know you and I had a discussion about that, the studies and all that. So what is it? What does a day or a week in training to be a counsellor look like?
Well, it starts off quite easy. Well, I've done an intense course. Basically, it's like psychology. You have to do a true course or a true path to get recognised by the sort of British Governing Association. So therefore, what I did, I used the British Association of Counsellors and Psychotherapists, and they are the sort of governing body for the UK that's most recognised, particularly with the NHS and things like that, where I probably get most of my work from.
Yeah.
So obviously I had to be careful about the courses that I chose, and I done the level 2, which was an intense condensed course. I passed that one, and then I'm now doing the level 3 at Basingstoke, BCOT technology. So BCOT College, and I do that on a Thursday, and it's for 3.5 hours on the Thursday, but it's a case of where you do take a lot of notes,
Yeah.
And you are expected to do a lot of studying on your own. So don't think that the 3 or 3.5 hours is just you sitting there. You have a lot of work to do after that.
Right. So just in terms of who you meet then, Brad, are you meeting other potential counsellors on a BCOT at Basingstoke?
Yeah. I mean, there is. We have a class of 14, and out of that 14, I think 12 are female and 2 are female. 2 are male, and it's really good. It's a really good little group, and we all help each other out. There's a really good, strong emphasis on team play, but a lot of it's a voyage on self-discovery,
Right.
which I find really interesting, because as a police officer, a lot of those emotions are locked up, because you can't let emotions get the better of you. So counselling aspect is going to the other end of the spectrum, where the emotional side is something that you need to open up to understand yourself.
Yeah.
So it's really, really interesting, and having the same group of people who have the same interests within the classes. Yeah, I really enjoy it. Really enjoy it.
Oh, okay. So in terms of timeline then, Brian, what is short, medium, and kind of long-term career linking that in with the council? What does it look like for you then?
Okay, so to actually be a trainee counsellor, you need to get a minimum of level 3, which is what I'm doing now. Usually the level 2 is part-time 1 year. Level 3 is part-time 1 year, and then level 4 diploma is 2 years, and from there you can go on to do degree level. So for me, the level 3 would be my introduction to counselling and actually practicing it as a trainee. And then from level 4, I would start getting paid work as a counsellor.
Right.
And then obviously level 5 and such on, you can become a tutor. There's all sorts of different avenues that open up.
Right.
You can specialise in different types of counselling from there onwards.
Right.
But for me, it's rewarding. As a police officer, you're always getting that reward for helping people out. And being a counsellor, I feel it gives that reward to you're actually doing something and getting something back from it.
Yeah.
I've been to a couple of organisations that are now willing to look at me once I've done my level 3 training.
Right.
And they're based around Newbury as well. So that's really, really good. As a prospect for me, once I achieve the level 3, that there actually is placements out there that are willing to take me.
That's good. So how long then, Brian, in terms of finishing your level 3? When will that complete for you?
Well, that completes once I've done my external exam through the British Association of Counsellors and Psychotherapists, and that is, I think it's in June.
Okay.
June is when I finish.
It's a lengthy process then in terms of getting the qualification from what you're saying.
It is. There's a lot of hard work, particularly, with the fact that the experience of being a police officer for 26 years and trying to contain your emotions to suddenly opening that door and trying to find out how you tick, what makes you work, how you present yourself, all those different things that you've done automatically. You now have to sort of break down and understand, and you'll not find any internet solution out there that will give you the answers. The answers are all within yourself.
Yeah.
So for me, during the daytime where it's nice and quiet, the kids are all going to school, my wife's at work, that's my time to try and study. And it's some days you just can't write anything.
Yeah.
Other days, it works for you, but it's not something that you go half-heartedly into. I think you've got to openly want to achieve it. It's hard work.
Interesting point made at the very beginning of the interview, Brian, and this is one of the key points we're trying to kind of hone in on for all ex-police staff and colleagues. The skills transference. What skills would you say you've been able to transfer across, and which skills perhaps not?
Okay, so I've found that the approach that I have had was quite strong. So when we do this triad work, basically it's groups of 3 and we practice counselling sessions. And sometimes I come across as less empathetic, but more of almost like a police interview, which is not what you want the client to experience.
No.
Therefore, I've had to tone that down a little so that I don't become as over-empowering as been in the past. So those kind of skills where you're trying to control a situation no longer are available within the counselling world. You're on a level with the client.
Mm-hmm.
You're not trying to overpower them or try to get the better of them. In fact, you're not even giving them advice.
Right.
You're just there to listen.
Right.
And it's important to pay attention and listen, which it is in the police as well. But
exactly. Yeah.
It's just that other end of the spectrum where you're not as as aggressive in your stance.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you're the opposite.
Right.
Other skills that I've found are obviously, it's the experience of working with people within the police force.
Yeah.
Is something that is something you get over time, and that is really good in the counselling world, because you can transfer that experience over into that that new trained skill. It's all there. You just have to unlock it, but it's all there.
Yeah.
And I've found it's been a big help, either with the people that I've met by being a police officer or working with police colleagues.
Yeah.
Experience that I've got from both aspects of that role as my police officer, I've found has been very good in the counselling side, particularly with confidence. I think obviously a police officer having confidence is a very big thing that you need in the counselling world, to be confident about your ability.
Yeah.
I think that goes for anything where you go from the police into another thing. Just remember the confidence thing is maybe what you're lacking to start off with because you've had a knock.
Yeah.
But confidence suddenly comes back again, and you suddenly become confident in your own ability again.
Yeah, I like that, Brian, and that's probably one of the key words to pick up on is that confidence thing. So glad you mentioned that. And so if anybody was leaving the police in, Brian, whether that's a cop or a civilian member of staff, then what advice would you give them if they were going into the counselling world as an occupation? Then, having not quite through it yet, but you've obviously had some experiences already. But what advice might you give anybody going through that?
Don't do it. I want to be the only counsellor in the area. Okay, so that's the advice I'm giving you. It's too hard. You'll never be good at it. Okay, so choose another career. It's something you've got to want to do. As I said, it's. But I have done an online course, which again in counselling is not recognised, but it gave me the foundations. And my tutor was saying that there was 2 or 3 police officers who had. That she'd known about through her lecturing experience that had taken on a counselling position. So clearly that role is out there for ex-police officers who are willing to put in the time and do the training to get awards. As I say, it's maybe a 2 year to get your trainee and 3 years and 4 years before you get on to doing agency. It's all agency work. Right. Counselling is an agency, and they use the agency status.
Right.
So, you go in, a lot of misconception on counselling is you can do the training and then all of a sudden you can run your own council, which only comes through experience.
Right.
It's a lot of things to consider before you actually start taking counselling up on your own and start counselling people. I would say you would need at least 3 or 4 years. From my position at the moment, 3 or 4 years minimum before you started considering doing counselling on your own rather than working for an agency that offers you the sort of clients to counsel.
Yeah. Just on that, Brian, something I hadn't thought of until you just mentioned the word agency. So are you doing this as a sole trader, as a limited company, or as an employee? How does it work for you then, or for others?
Well, what happens is, as I say, the idea is that you will become a sole trader.
Right.
So you're working for yourself, getting clients from wherever you've worked previous to that. To go out there and expect to get clients and say, "Hi, my name is Brian Skilling, I'm a counsellor. Where are you all?" It's just not going to work. You have to build up a client sort of database first, and that happens through working through agencies, with agencies, getting your name around first of all. So
Right.
you've got to walk before you can run, unfortunately, in this business.
Yeah.
As I say, it's a misconception to think that you can go in there and suddenly become, very professional in what you do, because it just isn't the case. It's a learning curve. Yeah.
Okay, good advice, Brian. That's something that I've picked up from you already. That this isn't something you're going to walk out the policing door 1 minute and then straight into being a counsellor the next minute. It's a lot of hard work in between.
Yeah.
And then, like you say, once you've got the qualification, then the other bit of hard work is actually getting the clients. That's how you do that.
Yeah,
okay. Absolutely.
Yeah.
A slight change of tack then, Brian. And again, we kind of mentioned this at the very beginning. What impact has leaving the police had on your family in particular then? What's the impact there if you're able to share that?
Okay. It's my wife feels it's great that I don't work shifts anymore. As soon as I finished, I wanted to go and continue doing. I used to help with Newbury Football Club,
right.
AFC Newbury.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing the managerial role.
Yeah.
And of course, I wanted to continue that. And the first thing my wife said to me was, "No, your weekends are mine now." so in a way, I think I was told no shift work and such like. The family were good because they had my company, which they probably didn't get for a long time.
Yeah.
I worked night shift a lot, so yeah, the family were happy to have me around. That soon wears off, mind you, but initially it's good to have me around. Of course, again, it's okay if you're retired. Okay, if you're retired, you have a reason to be off. You've earned your status to be retired. I was medically retired, and after a while, my wife's going, "Well, hang on, I've not retired. Why is he sitting around all day?" And I felt I had to do something other than the housework.
Yeah.
So yeah, after a while, I think the novelty wears off.
Sure.
Yeah.
In terms of the camaraderie that we all get from policing, Brian, how did you find the change from being one of a team at work? And you know what it's like, you get the banter, you get the camaraderie as well as doing the big job as well. That's all kind of gone now, I'm suspecting, unless you've got up to it again with your BCOP people in your training. But how's that change been for you?
Yeah, human beings are interactive people. You definitely miss that aspect of communication.
Yeah.
I do miss the camaraderie of the people that are around me when I was working in the environment that I did.
Yeah.
And people often say that it's the thing that keeps them there, and it most definitely is. Is the camaraderie, the teamwork. It's definitely a very important aspect of policing.
Yeah.
When you come out of there, that you don't have that camaraderie because people are suspect of you being a police officer.
Yeah.
It's different when you work within the police officer environment because you're all the same. But when you come out of that environment, I noticed the first 2 or 3 days at college that people, because you do an introduction at the start, people often offered you a lot of respect, but they were also very wary to even start the conversation. I found that I was starting a lot of the conversations and continuing the conversations, whereas people just didn't know where my level was. Could I trust that person? Could I speak to him without him judging me?
Yeah.
And after a while, that the barriers came down, and they realised that I was just a normal person, same as them. I wasn't out to catch them out or anything like that, or be judgmental. And having worked in an environment for 26 years where you work within the policing community, it is slightly odd to experience when you come out that people are kind of skeptical of you at first till they
Yeah.
realise that he's okay, he's one of us. So yeah, I think you sort of know what I mean on that respect.
Yeah.
I think they perceive you as being judgmental.
Sure.
The role that you used to do.
Yeah. Okay, Brian, that's interesting. Here's an interesting one about social media, because I know from our days in policing, sometimes you're kind of almost frowned upon to use social media for various reasons. But
Yeah.
how have you found the use of social media? Have you started using social media since leaving police? And if so, what have you been using it for? Have you been doing it for progressing your counselling, for instance?
Well, I don't use as a platform to find work or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
The reason for that is because in the police, you're not encouraged to advertise yourself, particularly where I was working.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't something that you did. You highlighted for safety reasons.
Yeah.
You highlighted the job and role that you've done, and therefore it was quite rightly frowned upon that you advertised yourself in such a manner and on a broad spectrum where anybody, particularly anybody that might not want to do you any favours, could view your profile.
Yeah.
So therefore, social media for me is not something that I would use up, sort of way to interact with people, not on a sort of business front now.
Okay, all right, man. We're getting a bit of internet unstable signs coming up, but we'll just crack on.
yeah, no problem. Your end of the village.
It probably is. Yeah, you wouldn't think it was so close. Just in terms of CV, then, Brian, did you get a CV made before you left policing? Have you had anything to do with putting a CV together, or how would you look to the future at putting a CV together?
Well, with Right Management, they went through the structure of creating a CV for me.
Right.
I mean that since then has changed. I kind of knew how to write a CV, but I would imagine that it would be, something that police officers, particularly if they've been in a long time like I have, would struggle to produce a good quality CV.
Yeah.
I mean, I learned a few tricks of the trade whilst I was there with the Right Management to the seminar I went to, and it sort of taught me, keep it specific, keep it brief. Don't do too many pages. They'll only read the first 3 or 4. In fact, might even only read the first 2. And that came from people who were in the MOD who'd retired, who were part of reading CVs for the job role, and they were saying they only read the first 2 or 3 pages. In any job that they were going through, because they had 40, 50 different CVs to go through. And it was just something like that I wasn't aware of. But I'd say CVs are very important. But yeah, I mean, I did have a little bit of help with that because I had the Right Management there to guide me along.
Okay, that's really interesting. And again, for me, what advice then, listening to what you just said, what advice might you give to colleagues who are going to be in that position of just about to leave? How do I do a CV? What advice would you give them?
Well, the thing is, when what I found was on my CV, it was rather blank, because I'd been in a role for such a long time.
Yeah.
And it's trying to sell yourself within that very short profile, and it can be surprising how much you can actually get within that scope. From the role you do. I mean, you do things on a daily basis and you don't realise how important those things are. You can start breaking them down into important roles and responsibilities that you had. You can put onto a CV. So it doesn't necessarily, for me, it doesn't necessarily need to be about how many jobs you've had. It's about that job that you've had and how well you've done that job. And how well you can transfer that into a language that somebody on the outside can read into and say, right, well, that's somebody who's been very professional throughout their career.
I like that phrase, Brian, transferring it into a language which others will understand. I do like that, and that is what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been able to have a common language that you can do. But just in terms of policing generically, Brian, I mean, what skills and competencies do you think might be in demand in the outside world, if that's a phrase we can use then?
Well, I mean, to be a police officer, I've always found that common sense is something that you should have.
Yeah.
To apply that along with the law, you'll make yourself a good police officer.
Yeah.
So to have the ability to learn within the public sector gives you a good grounding, but to get a better grounding is to apply that with common sense.
Yeah.
So, for example, decision making. It's all right to learn company policy, but unless you can turn that into proper decision making, you've got to apply those policing skills in the outside world, and that's, again, it's something that people do whilst they're in the force that they don't think about, that they actually can apply outside quite straightforwardly. They've got no problem. I don't think any police officer would have any problem learning things because they've learned the law. So therefore, it's just applying that outside, that belief and the confidence to learn, and then use that common sense that they've had in the policing to apply that, whatever they've done. Yeah.
I mean, again, linked to that, Brian, and you and I have had quite a few colleagues in the last few years that have left policing. Is there any particular roles you think that cops in particular, or civilian staff, might gravitate towards that you're aware of?
Again, it's down to personal choice whether they want to work shifts, or whether they want to do something completely different. I mean, I think it's down to personal choice, but I think there's opportunity out there.
Yeah,
it's how you transfer those skills across into a language, as I said, that the outside world understands. And you've got a lot of skills. I don't think you haven't, because sometimes, particularly in my role, where you might not be active every day. That's not to say on the day that you're required to be active, you don't have those skills, and you do. I think sometimes the skill set lies in the background, but it's always there. Yeah.
No, I agree with you, Brian. I totally agree with you. And it is about that transference of the skills that you've already got, and we've done lots of learning over the years as well. So Change of tack in terms of next question, Brian. In terms of finance, and what financial advice, guidance were you given before you left policing? You mentioned this company as well, which I'm interested in.
Yeah, the Right Management, they don't give you any financial advice as such. In fact, there was no financial advice at all given to me. None.
None at all? Wow.
None at all. No.
Okay.
Obviously didn't earn enough.
So just knowing that then, Brian, obviously you've got your own kind of financial head on anyway, but so what issues and concerns did that give you in the fact that you didn't have any advice or guidance? As I say, not having it, I can't comment on it, but know that my wife's quite a good financial advisor, as most wives are. so I mean, I had an in-house financial advisor, but yeah, I mean, obviously I'd received a lump sum and things like that, and I'd already projected what I needed to change careers, and how much that I would need to be within my own expenditure without sort of overspending. So I was quite clear on that from the onset, from when I started my training in my career change. So I would say to anybody who wants to make a career change, just make sure you have it's financially viable for you to do so. I'm in a position where I could do that. But I respect a lot of people can't have that luxury. You've answered my next question already. I was going to say, what advice would you give? And it is about getting that pre-planning, and especially with his family involved in terms of husband, wife, or partner, whatever it might be, and getting that side of it together. So I'm not sure if you did. I don't think you have done this, Brian. But again, did you have to do any job interviews or interviews for doing the counselling?
No, I'd already done an online course, which
Right.
the course director was quite happy with me going into this level 2 course, and because I'd already sort of covered the syllabus. So as far as job interview or course interview, no, I didn't apply it. But I think she already had also seen that the fact that I was a police officer.
Yeah.
She assumed that I already had the skill set to sort of deal with the public, deal on the front end. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. It's interesting because lots of cops are great at interviewing suspects or witnesses, but go back to that point you were making about when it's the role reversal, you're at the side of the table, maybe not quite so confident about being interviewed and talking about self again, that side of it. Just this whole concept, Brian, of leaving the police, and there's different ways that people leave. There's some short notice. Sometimes you get plenty of time. You know, like you probably had a bit more time than lots of others may have had. Sometimes it's a natural 30 years and they retire, or 40 years and retire for our old organisation. But what's the most daunting part of all that, do you think? Of everything that we've talked about so far, and you've obviously gone through lots of different thought processes during that time, what would be the biggest thing that you think is the most daunting out of all of it?
Self-belief.
Right.
Self-belief. Because you've never questioned yourself before, because you've never needed to. You know, you've always been employed.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you're not employed. And then that lack of belief kicks in because you've always done something all the time. Getting that self-belief back is incredibly important. That confidence, self-belief that you are actually worth something. You can put that across to other people, that you have values that they could find important or employable. It's all about self-belief, I think. And you do have to sort of come to terms with that yourself first.
Yeah.
Before you can move on.
Sure.
It's hard to explain to somebody who's not been through it.
Right.
You hit a sort of wall. It's like a wall of not believing in yourself, having no confidence in yourself. Suddenly you find this, well, nobody needs me. Am I worth anything?
Yeah.
You know, those are words that don't necessarily go around in your head, but your subconscious is thinking that.
Yeah.
And having that self-belief to say that, no, I am actually worth something. I can actually prove to myself that I can do something here. And I'll go out with that confidence that I had in the job that I had and the respectable role that I had.
Yeah.
And go forward. And that's what I did. You know, I said to myself, you know, I'm going to put myself out there again. I'm going to, you know, I've got skills.
Yeah.
I want to show the world that I've got skills.
Sure.
And I think when I spoke to you, you said to me, you've definitely got something. And I lacked belief at the time. I lacked belief that I had the ability to do something.
Yeah.
Where I was. And I had to give myself a good talking to and say, you know, you can do this.
Yeah.
Once you do that, as long as you can give yourself time, you can achieve most things.
No, I agree with you, Brian. That's a really good, again, I love those two words, self-belief. And I think that's where perhaps that's going to be the biggest barrier for lots of people. But it's good. You're a good live example of actually it does work. Believe in self. You've got to believe in self.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally agree with that. Just in terms of the kind of policing family that you've left behind, Brian, what kind of contact, if any, do you have with any of former colleagues and friends that you had in policing?
Okay, well, I'll be honest about this. I had a friend who was very popular within the section, and he left about a year and a half ago. He just took retirement, and he said to me, he says, a surprising amount of people that I haven't heard from. I said, oh, don't worry about it. You know, I'm sure they all love you. And exactly the same thing happened to me.
Right.
And I found it incredibly disappointing that I'd known these people for a long, long time,
Yeah.
and yet there didn't seem to be any contact. There wasn't, how are you doing? What are you up to now? And I questioned myself, was I actually unpopular? Did I think I was popular? Or was I really unpopular and they were all clapping hands when I'd left, flags out, that kind of thing. And it does run through your head.
Yeah.
Then I went to a couple of leaving dues, right? And because of the counselling thing I'd done, I started to look at people and how they actually functioned within the group of people.
Yeah.
And here, what I'd noticed was a lot of the police officers were in this loop. It was like a time loop.
Yeah.
And no matter how long a period I'd left them for, I could always go back into that loop and not much had changed.
Yeah, sure.
And therefore, the way I looked at it was I could actually be out that loop. They didn't need to contact me because they didn't have to, because nothing changed.
Yeah.
And therefore, I'd always be back in the loop. But for them, I hadn't really left the loop.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it does. Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. Yeah.
But to me, the feeling was more intense because I knew I'd left them. I wanted them to come to me.
So you've not got that loop.
Yeah, but to them, I'd never left.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. And it's an interesting point about retirement dues. Like you, I've been to a few, and it's as if you've never been gone.
Yeah.
And then when you say, "How long have you been gone for now?" They don't believe how long you've been gone for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Proves your point. That's good to know, Brian. At the end of the day, I think that's again another aspect that lots of people won't think about, that you're not in this team anymore, not as a team as was. You might see people socially, but it's still not in the workplace team. So, and I like that phrase that you use there, being in the loop.
Yeah.
Here's one for yourself then, Brian. So let's just say that you've done all your counts and stuff, and I'm going to be the agency that interviews you for getting onto my books. And I say, okay, Brian, I've got you in front of me. What is your unique selling point for me to take you on then?
You never told me to revise. You could have put me on the spot here. My unique selling point is me.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree. Agree. Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not interviewing you, Brian. I'm just trying to see what is your unique selling point, and I get the it's me bit.
Yeah, I mean, my unique selling point is, I've got the ability to learn, which I've shown, and I've got the ability to adapt, which again is, a lot of people think with an age thing, you're getting too old and things.
Yeah.
But as long as you can show you can adapt and the ability to learn, I think that would get you far.
Yeah. Just being a bit selfish for leaving the police now, Brian, from my side of it with Mark now. It's about a year, I think, you've been away from policing now.
Yeah.
So the last 12 months in a way. What would you like to see on a leaving the police website that might be helpful for you if you were going through the same kind of things again, as you were 18 months ago?
A good in-depth question and answers.
Okay. Yeah.
So people don't necessarily have to broadcast themselves that they're here, and they can just go in to the site and have a look. What are the top 10 questions that people may have, and good descriptive answers for those 10 questions. As a start, so that people can sort of alleviate their fears to start off with, and then once they go over the fears, look at what else the website can offer them.
Right.
Because as I say, it's daunting. People don't know where to go, what direction they want to turn in. And sometimes you can, too much information on there, that people get lost in information.
Yeah.
So accurate information, possibly, that Myers-Briggs I found really interesting. I found that really helpful for me. That was something that showed me where I could be.
Yeah.
You have to answer it honestly. You can steer it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree with that, Brian. Well, it's interesting. We will have coaches and mentors on there to provide that. We'll have people with the MBTI skill sets that can actually do the questionnaires and give you what your MBTI scoring will be. But like you say, if you haven't heard it or done it before, it's really is good. I've done MBTI loads of times, but you're right. That's the kind of stuff. So that's good. Thanks for that. That's useful information for us. FAQs, frequently asked questions, is something I don't think we've got at the moment. So we'll adapt as we move forward with the website, and always welcome feedback on that side of it as well. Just one for you then, Brian. One of my last ones. I'm in the last kind of winning straight here. What will success look like for you in the future then?
Achieving my objectives, definitely. As I say, failure is not an option there. Not for my wife anyway, and definitely not for me. So no. As I say, I'm hoping to steer my own destiny this time. With the police, it was something I walked into because my friend done it. He'd done the Home Office in Strathclyde. I knew it would make my parents happy. Knew it would make my girlfriend at the time happy, and it was a decently paid job. So, you know, and the pension was good. So I suppose all those factors at the time made me agree to be a police officer. But was it something I really wanted to do, or did I just tag along? I think for the last 5-10 years, I'd been asking myself that question. But my brother used this phrase, it's called the golden cage. And when you're employed and you have a mortgage and you have kids, the golden cage keeps you there. And were it not for the fact that I got medical retirement, got a lump sum, and had that ability to, you know, change my career, I'd probably still be within that golden cage. And regretting a lot of things. So definitely.
You seem to be in a much happier place, Brian. I've known you for quite a long time now, but you seem to be in a much happier place. Outside of your golden cage.
Absolutely. I've just got a house cage now where I've got to go to the tidying up. I mean, you're already keeping me, you know what I mean? I've got stuff to do here. No, absolutely, much happier.
Right, one last thing from yourself. Is there anything that you'd like to say? I mean, I know you don't have your own company, your own business, and I know you're on a journey with your counselling side of it. Any last point you'd like to say for colleagues that will be viewing this on leaving the police?
Well, you know, be positive. I mean, that's an overused phrase. Be positive. There will be lows, expect them. Life's unfair. Once you realise that life is unfair, you'll start dealing with it a lot better. So, you know, at the end of the day, stay positive. That's all I can say. Be what you want to be, and you can achieve it. Set yourself some time and be truthful with yourself.
Lovely, Brian. Great words. Brian, thanks so much for your time this morning. It's been a real pleasure doing this interview with you. And you and I have had some chats in the past, but nothing like this. But just to let you know, this is only going to be on Leaving the Police website. It's not going to be on a social media site. It's not open source for anybody. Only members will be able to watch this video. And I'm sure there's some real nuggets of opportunity there that you've given to people that if they look at the right parts of this video, they'll take some really great advice. So thanks for that, Brian.